It's Miss Beth in a robe because I wanted to outshine Dr. G before he gets here. I think my robe looks nicer than his. You'll have to tell me what you think. We're talking about elections today, specifically the 1824 election, and we're talking about electoral colleges and popular votes. But before Dr. G gets here, I wanted to share Froggy for President by Jonathan London and published by Viking Press. Hey, at school on Friday, Froggy read a poster. Vote! Election Monday for class president. Great, said Froggy. I can't wait. On Monday morning, Froggy woke up and bounced on his bed. Boing, 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 yippee! Today, I run for president. Arf, said Doggy. So Froggy hopped out of bed and ran out of the house. Flop, 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 flop. Froggy, yelled Mom. What? What are you doing? I'm running for president. In your underwear? Oops, cried Froggy. He ran back, got dressed, and ate his breakfast of cereal and flies. Munch, crunch, munch, 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 munch. Now I can run for president, said Froggy. That's nice, dear. And Froggy ran all the way to the bus stop. Flop, 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 flop. On the school bus, Max shouted, Froggy for president! And Matthew and Travis shouted with him. But Leah jumped up and shouted, Froglina for president! And Emma and Hannah shouted with her, all the way to school. At circle time, Miss Witherspoon said, now class, we have two candidates for president, Froggy and Froglina. What's your platform, Froggy? Froggy hopped on his desk, zoop, and said, this is. That's his platform, the top of a desk. No, dear, said Miss Witherspoon. What would you want to do if you were elected president? Oh, well, I'd want to have 10 snack times and get a trampoline for the school and have recess all day long. Hooray! Froggy for president! Cheered Froggy's fans. But Froglina jumped up and wrote on the chalkboard. This is my platform, she said, and she read it out loud. Start a search party to find everybody's lost things. Have a lunch sharing program and have a talent show to raise money for the school library. Hooray, Froglina for president. Even Froggy started to cheer. Oops. Is it snack time yet? Yes, dear, said Miss Witherspoon. Yum, cried Froggy. Cupcakes and flies. Munch, crunch, munch, crunch, munch, crunch. After snack time, Miss Witherspoon said, now it's time for two candidates to make a speech. Froglina, will you go first? After Froggy, said Froglina. So Froggy jumped up on his chair and sang, a vote for me is a vote for you. Tweety-dee and tweety-doo. Love books, make art, and play all day. We can learn and dance and play, play, play. And he did a little dance. Ta-da! Hooray! Froggy for president! Thank you, dear, said Miss Witherspoon. Now, Froglina, it's your turn. Froglina stood up and said, I would rather show than tell. Follow me. We're going on a search party. And everybody poured outside and went hog wild. Found Max's soccer ball, yelled Froggy, thump. Found Froggy's saxophone, yelled Max, quack. Found Emma's hairbrush. Found Hannah's toothbrush. That night, Froggy couldn't sleep. He sat up and cuddled Doggy and looked out the window at the moon. Whoo! Well, vote for you, said Al. I know, said Froggy, jumping up. I'll vote for me. Arf! Said Doggy. And at school the next day, Froggy was so excited that when Miss Witherspoon handed out the ballots and he checked the box next to his name, his pencil flew out of his hand and zing! And when Leah came around with the ballot box, his ballot almost torn too. When he stuck it in the slot, rip! Thank you for voting, Leah giggled. Now only one vote. Froggy. I know, said Froggy. And he wondered, who will vote for me? There's Max, Matthew, Travis, and me. He held up 3 fingers on one hand and a thumb on his other, and June jumped up on his chair and yelled, 3 + 1 is 5. That means I win. I'll be president. 3 + 1 is 4, said Froglina, and everybody laughed. Oops, I know that. cried Froggy, looking more red in the face than green. Listen, children, said Miss Witherspoon, I have counted all the ballots, and it's 4 for Froggy, and 4 for Froglina. Oh no, it's a tie, cried Max. What are we gonna do? I know, said Froggy. We'll be presidents together. Hooray! Everyone cheered. Froglina leaped up beside him, and together they sang, a vote for me is a vote for you, Tweedledee and Tweedledoo. Froggy for president and Froglina too. Vote. Well, they had a tie, and they handled it well. The two candidates were going to coexist as class president. Well, what happens if we have a tie in the United States for an election? Dr. G, can you help us out?
Yes, I can. And my entourage is here too. We're going to be talking about the election of 1824. That's almost 200 years ago. And it was an election where the candidates didn't like each other. It was an election where the candidates were mean to each other. And it was the election where there were lots of dogs getting fed treats behind the candidates. Anyway, there were 5 major candidates in 1824, though really only 4 of them were kind of running for president. And what happened is the vote split between them. And so it wasn't clear who won the election of 1824. Now you got to remember, in the United States, there's the popular vote, and that's all of the votes from everybody who voted in the US, and you add them up, and they go to one candidate or another candidate or maybe a third candidate. But that doesn't determine the winner of the presidential election of the United States. What determines the winner is the person who gets enough votes in the Electoral College. Now, in the Constitution, the framers of the Constitution created the Electoral College because they didn't think a popular vote would work. They were concerned that people up in Massachusetts wouldn't know about people in Georgia, for instance. So what was going to happen is people from a particular state were going to elect somebody called an elector. And then the elector would meet with the electors from the other states, and together they would choose the next president of the United States. So it wasn't a very democratic process at all. It was an elitist process. That means, just a few people making the decision. Things happened and changed really quickly that we can't really talk about, but each state has 2 electors for their 2 senators, and then the electors for their people from the House of Representatives. So each state has at least 3 electors. But what happened in 1824 is the popular vote was split between 4 major candidates: John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, William Crawford, and Henry Clay. And the electoral vote was split between those 4 major candidates. In both cases, for the electoral vote and the popular vote, Andrew Jackson got the most votes. But he didn't get enough of the electoral votes to win the presidency. So it was not quite a tie like Froggy and Froglina. When that happens, the election goes to the House of Representatives, and each state has 1 vote. And the person who's going to win the election has to win more votes than anybody else. And you take the top 3 people in the Electoral College results. So in 1824, the top 3 people were Andrew Jackson, John Quincy Adams, and William Crawford, who wasn't going to win because he had a stroke and he was really sick. Now, Henry Clay came in 4th, but he was not able to participate. So what happened is Henry Clay was the Speaker of the House. And so he could kind of control the votes and get people to vote the way he wanted to. And what happened is Henry Clay worked behind the scenes, and he made sure that John Quincy Adams won the election. Remember, Adams came in 2nd place. That made Andrew Jackson really, really angry. And he called this a corrupt bargain. And he said that there was a deal between Adams and between Clay. that there really wasn't a deal. He also said that the Judas of the West has closed the contract and he will receive 30 pieces of silver. His end will be the same. And John Quincy Adams, though, became president of the United States. So here's a couple important things about the election of 1824. It was one of the first modern elections in American history, trying to get a lot of people to vote. Also, it was an election that created the Democratic Party, because when Andrew Jackson lost, he decided that he was going to run and get revenge in 1828, and he helped create the political party known as the Democratic Party. And it's still around. It's one of the two major parties in the United States. Now, we don't know what's going to happen on November 3rd. Somebody's probably going to get enough electoral votes from this election. But it could be really interesting, because this is an election kind of like any other one. So stay tuned to find out what happens.
Thank you, Dr. G, for the recap of the 1824 presidential election. And I want you to think back to the platforms, not what Froggy was standing on, but actually what he wanted to accomplish as class president. I want you to think about if you were running for president, what would your platform be? If you feel like sending in your ideas, remember, it's Loveland Library Children's @gmail.com. Send us your platform. We'd love to hear what you're running on. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.